Hi there folks, and welcome to the What Solutions for this week's The Daily Rigour, issue number 233. So in our first story from the world of politics, there's a new system of fines for people that attend illegal gatherings of more than 15 people. It's an £800 fine, and fines will double for each repeated offence, up to a maximum of £6,400. So how much would a very silly person be fined in total if they were caught attending 4 house parties? Well, the first illegal gathering, it'd be a fine of £800. For the second gathering, it would double, so that'd be 1,600. For the next one again, because they really don't learn the lesson, it would double again to be 3,200. And then, if they're caught again, a very, very silly person this would have to be, it would double again to be 6,400. And we just add up all these amounts and it would be an unbelievable fine of £12,000. Hopefully nobody's that silly. Okay, so on to our sports story. So love this. Tony Hawk, the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 legend for the skateboarding game. He's 52 now and he landed a 720, which is one of the rarest tricks in skateboarding. Interestingly enough, it was originally invented by himself when he was accidentally trying to do a lesser move and he actually over-rotated too far. Now anyway, you should actually watch the video on YouTube. It's great when you watch all his different attempts at it 'cause it's actually so difficult to do. So how many full mid-air rotations need to be completed in order to pull off a 720 skateboard move? So it's going to be 2 full rotations, and you must give a reason for your answer. Well, there's 360 degrees in a full turn, and 720 is 2 lots of 360. So there are 360 degrees in a full turn, something like that for your reason would be perfectly acceptable. So Pointless, the game show on Thursday, our entertainment story, gave us a chance to develop both our numeracy and our literacy skills, because all of these maths words start with the letter A. What we've done is we've given you the really tricky one of additive inverse. We'll talk more about that later, but can we complete the board? So an ancient calculating device composed of rods and beads. So that was, I wonder if you knew, that was abacus. And abacus scored 65. So that actually meant out of 100 people asked at random, 65 of them get abacus, which is actually really high. So our second one, a reference line on a graph labelled X or Y. Well, surely high school math students, or indeed primary math students, would probably know that that was axis, so the X and the Y axis. So that scored 35, considerably less than the abacus. So system where letters represent numbers in formulaic equations. So that's going to be algebra. In algebra, would have thought it would have been higher than that, but 49 out of 100 people said it. So an angle of less than 90 degrees, so that's going to be acute, and we'll expect this to be quite high, 61. So abacus and acute, definitely the most popular answers there. Now the additive inverse, so the two-word term for a number that, when added to a given number, creates the sum of zero. A very rare phrase, and it's not used enough in maths classrooms in my opinion, but that was actually a pointless answer. 0 out of 100 people answered that correctly. So the additive inverse, as we said there, is what you add to a given number to get 0. So what's the additive inverse of 7? Well, what do you add to 7 to get 0? Well, you actually add -7, don't you? Because you start at 7, and adding a negative means you go down. So if you go down by 7, that would take you to 0. So what's the additive inverse of -1/2? Well, if you're down at -1/2, how do you get to 0? You've got to go up a half. So +1/2 would be the additive inverse of -1/2. Okay, and I think that's a really interesting maths thing to learn from this week's edition. So on to Dutch of Cambridge now, another high-profile public person talking down their maths ability. I hope she doesn't impose that negative mindset on the children. So when she was asked to rate her maths ability, she scored herself -5. So here is our royal -5 lockdown quiz to see how much we know about the number -5. So first of all, we have to calculate -5 add 9. So we're down at -5, and if we're adding, we go up by 9. And if you count that in your fingers, you'd end up at 4. So be a wee bit trickier, so minus 5 all squared. So to square a number means to multiply it by itself. So it's minus 5 times minus 5. So two negatives, when you multiply them together, give you a positive. 5 times 5 is 25, so that's going to equal positive 25 overall. So the last one, part C, most people would have no chance of answering this right if pointless taught us anything, but we already know what it means now. What is the additive inverse of minus 5? In other words, what do we add to minus 5 in order to get 0? So we would need to add 5 to get to that. So well done if you got that right. So there you go, folks. That was our What Solutions for this week's edition. We hope you enjoyed answering these questions. Stay tuned for next week's edition when we're going to be looking at more stories from the news of the week and the numbers behind them. But in the meantime, thanks for watching and bye for now.